But alright guys, we're gonna make an Ember guide. We're gonna make a snazzy Ember Spirit guide. And almost see 600 CS as well. That game, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see what happened in that game. I feel like maybe you could have carried your team, but I don't know. I played an Ember Spirit game myself recently where I just couldn't carry my team even though I tried very, very hard. But we're not talking about that game. We're talking about this game. Alright, so hello. My name is Wired Guitars. You guys probably know that by now, but just in case you don't, I'm a 4.6k player. I'll show you my MMR real quick because everybody cares about it. They use it for credibility purposes. That's the only reason I'm showing you this. I'm not trying to brag or anything. Really, what's to brag about it? My MMR is 4530 according to Dota Buff, but according to actual Dota, it's 4600. I assure you this is my current updated MMR. I like to consider myself mostly an Earth Spirit player, but I do occasionally dabble into the carries, such as Ember Spirit and Meepo sometimes, although I wouldn't necessarily consider Meepo a hard carry. But Ember is a different story. Alright, so what I'm doing here today, I'm trying to give you guys an Ember Spirit guide, but I'm trying to give you guys an Ember Spirit guide that is a little bit different from what you've probably been doing if you've been watching RTZ's stream for the last, I don't know, however many times he's been streaming, spamming Ember Spirit in his games. I'm here to give you guys like a introductory to Ember Spirit. This is like what you need to do if you have not played Ember Spirit for, I don't know, more than like 50 games. Like if you're just starting out as Ember Spirit, you're like, man, I really want to main this hero, or I want to play this hero as my primary hero. You need to do this, okay? You don't need to start Poor Man's Shield, ask for 2 tangos, and then get a salve, okay? You don't need to do any of that next level crap, okay? Just start a South Shield, get your tangos, leave the base, and generally speaking, you're going to actually want to fight for the rune. I didn't do that. I would be fighting for the rune right now, but I'd probably deny it anyways because this is for science. What I'm going to be doing in this guide is talking about Ember Spirit as well as farming on the hero and trying to get as quick of items as I possibly can in a free farm environment. You will not have this in your games. Ember Spirit is a pretty easily harassed hero in lane. He doesn't have a whole lot to counteract harass, and we might even see that against this this Bloodseeker, but probably not because it's a freaking bot. But anyways, I'm gonna be trying to talk about item builds and skill builds whilst you see me farm, and hopefully I can show you basically how to farm with this hero. Okay, because there's a very obvious way to farm with this hero before he gets Battle Fury, but then once you get Battle Fury, or at least once you get Boots of Travel, the farming methods become a little bit more either difficult or non-obvious, right? Maybe they're not necessarily the most difficult to pull off, and I'm not going to sit here and claim to be a super pro Ember Spirit, but they are a little bit non-intuitive, so I hope to show you and shed some light on how to actually farm with this hero post Boots of Travel and post Battle Fury. So anyways, as you saw, I started the game with my Flame Guard, and I went to the lane, and I pushed the lane at level 1. I do think that you should do that against a good majority of the heroes out there, like Templar Assassin, Shadow Fiend, and I guess Bloodseeker in this case. Pushing the lane at level 1 and making your opponent farm under tower is a really nice thing, because it can reset the lane in case you get an inferior block, which you probably will because you're going for the rune. And I didn't cheat myself a courier, which is unfortunate, but we'll get one later. It lets you reset the lane, and it lets you assert a dominance of CS and probably EXP over your opponent, because you're going to have the ability to deny your opponent, whereas they are not going to. Unless they can kill your guard at level 1. So if it's like against Alina, maybe you shouldn't do this. But generally speaking, I would advise you to do this, because it's pretty good. It's good to just assert lane dominance. So I'll do it again. It kind of makes your last hits a little bit easier, in my opinion, from my experience. Except for like when they both get low at the same time. Usually that won't happen though, because the creep wave will focus on one creep, so it becomes easier to get the other. Anyways, let's talk about item builds as I'm doing this. Okay, you got a cool double damage, bro. So anyways, item builds on Ember Spirit. I personally like to rush a bottle into brown boots, and this is what you should be doing. Okay, you should not be trying to go some crazy like drum or anything like that. If you want to get some stats, get a Wraith Band, but generally speaking in your games, you want to be getting a bottle into Boots of Travel pretty much as soon as possible. And why do you want to be doing that? Not because it makes the hero harder, but actually the opposite. It makes the hero a lot easier. When you get your Boots of Travel, this hero, if you play him correctly, just becomes an entirely new beast of simplicity and understanding, right? He's just so much easier when you can teleport anywhere on the map, basically. And I'll show you what that means when I get my Boots of Travel. But hopefully we're farming well enough to kind of demonstrate that this hero does have decent base damage, does have a decent animation, and just overall should have a decent time last hitting in lane. I can't really simulate a harass environment because this bot is Bloodseeker and he's being very passive. And plus, if it wasn't Bloodseeker, it'd be some really stupid bot anyways. Bots are usually like pretty stupid, pretty bad at the game. They're pretty bad at simulating the real experience. But rest assured, right? Even if you're getting harassed pretty heavily as Ember Spirit, you shouldn't have too hard of a time getting at least the farm that you need. Okay? So anyways, skill builds. Like I said, went Flame Guard at level 1. Only do that if, when you're fighting over the rune, you realize that you do not need to start your bolas. Otherwise, start bolas, because bolas are a 2-man crowd control for 1 second at level 1. That is a lot of value. You get 2 seconds of not stunning, but immobilization, which does a grand total between 2 targets of 160 damage, right? It's 160 damage over 2 targets, which kind of seems irrelevant, right? Like, you're probably not going to be hitting the dream 2-man bola every single fight, but if they're going in for the rune, they're going to be basically melee range no matter what, so it's not unlikely to at least hit at least 1 person, right? But you'll probably hit 2. Whoops, rip. If they try to send 2 people in there. And you get a lot of value out of starting this ability overall. It helps you secure the rune, it helps you do a lot of damage and contribute to level 1 early engagements. It's a lot better than Flame Guard, because Flame Guard can be easily popped, especially at the bounty rune, where people are probably going to start their magic damage, crowd controlling abilities. Just probably don't ever start Flame Guard unless you are getting a free rune. If you are getting a free rune, definitely start Flame Guard so that you can push the lane. But don't risk losing the rune over starting a greedier skill build, because it's not actually greedy if you can't get the rune, because the rune is the greediest thing in the world. It's not actually greedy, it's money. It's flat out money, so it's better. Anyways, so far though, my skill build has been pretty correct. There's some point of merit to getting your Q leveled up to level 3 at this level as opposed to your E, because your Q scales very, very well in some cases. From level 1 to level 2, it doubles in duration and gains 30 to, math is hard, gains like 40% damage. It gains 40 damage, so it's not 40%. It's like, it gains 50% of its level 1 base damage, and it scales up in duration. So you get an extra second, and you get 40 extra damage. Then from level 2 to 3, it literally doubles in damage. It literally just does double the damage of the ability, right? Kind of like the old Bounty Hunter Shuriken. The ability scales very weirdly. And then lastly, from level 3 to 4, there's insane value because it gains 60 damage as opposed to 40, and another second. So it's just like the level 1 to 2 transition, but it's not double the duration anymore. It's 1 extra second, and it's gaining 60 damage instead of 40, which is good. So overall, the ability scales kind of awkwardly, but it's a great ability to level up to level 3 and level 4 specifically. But for your farm's sake, for pushing the lane's sake, if you're trying to be greedy, it's okay to max out your E first and get your ulti pretty much always at level 6. Your E can net you a kill sometimes where your ulti or where your Q can't, and sometimes your Q can net you a kill where your E can. It's on a game-by-game basis, right? If you're against a Bloodseeker like this, spam your E all day, level it up first, he can't do anything about it, and you're going to do the most damage and push him out of lane if you do it this way, right? You can deny farm easily, because if he comes up to try to take the farm, you could just, you know, burn him. And just overall, it's going to do a lot of damage for you. Look at all this damage. I'm doing a Radiance Burn's worth of damage right now to this target. Also, he Q'd himself, so that's kind of unfortunate for him. But still, okay, there's some, okay, rip. There's no creep wave here. Okay, rip. This bot is going to kill me right now. Because I was herping. Okay, no he's not, because he's going to come. He's going to just go to the EXP wave. But he could definitely kill me here. Alright, this is a situation where I'm very amazed that the bots are this stupid and that they're not just trying to kill me. Okay, now he's going to try to kill me? Is this real life? Like, he's going to wait? Okay, that's whatever. We're not too concerned. But yeah, look at all the farm that I've gotten. I almost have Boots of Travel with insane free farm. Just in the first 7 minutes of the game. And I'm actually not even going to go back because I still have mana to spam. If I had my bottle here, this would be even better. I probably wouldn't have even have had to take that risk that I just did, right? Your Q, or leveling up your E also has a lot of value and merit because leveling up your ability to push the lane is very good. Okay. This is pretty funny. It's funny how terrible these bots are. But anyways. So, let's see here. What was I on? I was on getting Boots of Travel. Get Boots of Travel, max your E first, generally speaking, and the farm really gets in there. I should have thrown a Remnant down, by the way, but it's not a huge deal. I should have thrown a remnant so I didn't have to use my bots to get back into this lane, but that's not too big of, like I said, not too big of a deal. So we're going to buy a courier here. You're probably never going to have to buy a courier, so you should have 120 gold more than I do. But this is where the real fun begins. Activate your E in the fountain so you can get a free spell out of it. And then we're just going to do this. Right? Okay. So I got unlucky with my Q. But this point still remains, right? You can get you have a lot of burst damage on this hero, especially if you level him maxing your Q first. But even with your E, you can do a lot of damage with this hero. Come, say, level 9 when you have both of these abilities maxed, or even prior to that, right? Like I said, this ability scales in a very weird way where even the third point in it doubles the damage of the ability. So you have a lot of burst damage on this hero, especially between all three of your remnants, that allows you to get a lot of kills that you might not otherwise expect. And that's one of the reasons why I think that even as hard of a carry as Ember is, he's also a very good early game team fighter, or contributor to team fights. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to throw a remnant out. We're going to go over here and try to see if we can't farm this camp before our flame guard duration runs out. I predict this is going to run out while I'm trying to take the camp, but that's okay. We got kind of lucky there. It hit my... No, it hit both of those little guys, so we kind of got a little unlucky, but it's okay. We get to finish the camp simply and soundly. And this is basically what you do with bots. You go and you farm a jungle camp, you get the rune, and you hop back in a lane. Between getting the rune and Ember's natural mana regen, you should basically be able to sustain all of your mana costs if you're not doing it stupidly, if you're not spamming mana on early points of W, or if you're not trying to go for a kill. And if you ever have a problem sustaining your mana, it's okay. And like your Ember Spirit with bots, right? You can just go back to base and deal with your problems there. So this is a situation where I'm actually going to go over here and I'm going to stack this camp. Stacking is also very good on Ember Spirit for hopefully pretty obvious reasons. But if it's not obvious, your E is very good for farming stacks. And your skill set in general warrants you to be able to take the stack later, like much later in time, if need be. So a stack there. I need to take this before he denies it. But of course, this is a super easy bot. He's not going to take it. So anyways, like I said, my skill build thus far has been pretty standard stuff. He took the rune. That's cool. I like that he's doing that. That's great. It's great that he's doing this. This is somewhat of a real game experience, at least. We're going to do it kind of so he can't really run. We kind of walked in there beforehand and did it. All right, we're not trying to get a kill here because I'm not trying to inflate my GPM too much. I got that first blood, but for the most part, my gold has been pretty normal. We're just trying to show you and demonstrate the hero's early game damage against a pretty stupid Bloodseeker who has his Q on himself when he's not last hitting and just gets a bunch of extra amp damage. But all the same. So we're going to come over here again and see if we can't stack this. We might be able to. I think we might be a little late. Yeah, we're going to be a little late here. We can stack it up. I know that stacking this camp up is a lot easier than stacking it. We might get this. I don't think we got that. I'm pretty sure we didn't get this. So we're just going to kill it just to make sure that... Oh, we did get it. Oh, that's really cool. So I got pretty lucky here. So we're not going to kill this because we did stack it, and so it's going to be really hard to get those last little guys down. But if you do that when you have your Flame Guard on... And this is kind of dangerous, I guess, to do this against this Bloodseeker, because if he just so happens to decide to come out here, he could give us some trouble. But anyways, so we're going to put our thing right there, because we're going to go back to base. And that's going to last for 35 seconds. So when we go back to base, that didn't seem intuitive, right? Most of you people wouldn't have put that remnant there. But I'll show you rather exactly why we put that remnant there. We come back here, we buy most of our proponents to our Battle Fury. Don't buy the Perseverance first. Get any item but the Perseverance first. Activate our E. TP mid. We have about half duration left on that. I should have popped probably my W to try to see if I couldn't get another free spell out of there and maybe hit him. Like W and then, you know, go into Bullas after that. And then we pour it over here, right? This is pretty obvious stuff. I probably should have poured it over here earlier because I had my one thing up. My Flame Guard. Flame Guard is like your key to success. It's like your bread and butter for early game. It's how you're farming, it's how you're doing damage, it's how you're like protecting yourself from damage. It's just a really good ability. So don't feel too obligated to holding on to it for a bind, right? The ability is pretty liberal with its mana cost, even for Ember Spirit's demanding mana pool. And you're getting bottles, and you have Boots of Travel anyways, so I'm glad that he's taking runes. He's trying to make this a little bit more difficult for us. But generally speaking, you want to be looking around for runes a lot with this hero. We'll back off a little bit, and he'll do that. So we'll simulate something else that you can do with Ember Spirit, right? You can always TP. Always got TP. It's kind of funny to like run with Rupture. Sorry, I played Han a little bit. So we kind of got unlucky there. It's whatever. Again, we're not actually going to try to kill him regardless, so it's cool that we got lucky, because I may have been tempted there to kill him. Anyways. Again, this is an insanely free farm environment, but in general, Ember is very good at escaping ganks. So you should have no problem playing this passively, or I guess this farm heavy, not fearful pushing the lane of not fearful of rotations, etc. style of Ember Spirit. It's not that hard to get away with something like this. And look, it's 13 minutes in. We have 97 creeps. We've done a pretty good job thus far of getting free farm, but all the same, right? We got free. I guess we got first blood. I probably shouldn't have killed him first blood. That really deterred from the scientific aspect of this guide, I suppose. I kind of want to say, as an excuse, I want to say, like, that's just me trying to show you how easy it is to get kills with this hero on a mid opponent once you hit level 6. Even though I think I may have been level 7 or 8 when I took him down, but still, like, I want to justify it with that, and I should have killed this catapult, but it's not a huge deal. I was kind of afraid of him coming back, if I'm completely honest with you. And in a real game situation, I think I would have backed up there, so that's kind of why I backed up there. But regardless, so I want to justify it with, like, that's how easy it is to get a kill, but in all honesty, I probably shouldn't have taken that all the same. So we hit him there. Cool thing about Ember Spirit, you can move during Rupture with your ulti and not take damage. So he kind of slows down our farm here, because we could be getting that last hit, but we can't because we're Ruptured. So it's all good. I'm going to throw a Remnant down there. I have no problem being efficient with my... And actually, that Remnant probably should have been somewhere else here. Probably should have been, like, down here, because I was thinking about going to the jungle anyways. So we're going to come down here. We're going to stack this camp again. And I should probably have tried to get some damage on that camp a little bit, but it would have been cutting the time a little short. I'm going to come in here, run them up, and yeah, camp successfully stacked. Ember does benefit from stacking. Even if you don't feel confident in taking these camps early on, like how I am with Flame Guard, kind of kiting them a little bit, you can still take these later once you eventually get your Battle Fury, right? It's not like you're never going to get a Battle Fury on this hero. Usually you always get a Battle Fury on this hero, because it's like the cheapest and most effective way of increasing your damage against both heroes and minions, generally speaking, right? There's a little bit of room for debate on that, but like it's a really good way of increasing your damage. There's nobody can deny at least that much. But yes. Also, you'll notice one very important thing about the way that I play this hero. I always try to use remnants whenever I have them up, right? If for nothing else, then for safety, right? Because I think that this hero is not a hero that... Well, is this the real one? This is the real Bloodseeker. Wow, he's just getting squishier and squishier. I always try to use my remnants, though, and that's just because of the efficiency of the hero, right? You gain nothing by sitting on a bunch of remnants for a while. So just... You know, try to use them if you see yourself with 3 remnants available. Say, hey, am I gonna lose any kill potential using a remnant right now, placing it down right here where I currently am, so that later when I'm farming I can have a safe place to jump back, right? If I am, then maybe I shouldn't use my remnant. But for the most part, you're not going to be impeded in any unhuman, unnatural way, right? You're not going to be impeded if you do something like that. Generally speaking, it's just going to save your life probably 100% of the time. And here, I'm going to hypocrite of my own words. I ported back and I didn't throw a remnant down. So rip. So we're going to have to walk back. This is probably the biggest efficiency loss that I've taken, I think, so far this game. I think I may have missed a stack earlier. No, I didn't even miss that stack. I think I had to do something similar to this at the start of the game, which kind of sucked, but... Whatever. I had to take a little efficiency hit here by walking back to base. But yeah, it's 16 minutes in, and I'm level 13. I'm out-leveling my opponent, getting minimal bounty runes, and mostly just farming extra camps, right? That's the biggest thing. Getting minimal bounty runes and just free farm, right? I'm not even denying him that much. I'm just mostly just getting some runes, stacking camps, and killing them, right? And this is what you can do in pretty much every single one of your games, especially at 2k MMR. If you're just doing it the way that I'm telling you, you should have no problem. Whoops. So there's a DD there. In a real game, you would get that, but I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait mostly because I don't want to screw up my farm too much. I just want to show how much farm you can get with bounty runes, you know, with primarily bounty runes, if even that. But normally you would take that pretty much right away. You wouldn't throw that there, go down here and farm a camp and be like, I'll be right back. I just want to be efficient with my farm, DD, right? No, you don't make DDs wait like that. DDs could be terrible in the hands of your opponents. So we'll deny that, actually. Just so that I don't have anybody complaining, oh man, you got too many DDs that sped your farm up. No, that's not what happened. Okay, all I'm trying to do is simulate a free farm experience with very minimal outliers, just trying to demonstrate how quickly this hero can farm. Again, in a normal game, you may have a little bit of a harder lane than I just had. Maybe you'll have a Lina that's constantly poking the shit out of you, right? A Lina or Skywrath Mage or something like that. They're constantly giving you a hard time, popping your shield, making it hard to farm, etc. so forth. I concede that, right? But generally speaking, you should not have a terrible time farming on this hero, and your GPM should be amongst the highest, barring pretty much none, right? Shadow Fiends can give you a run for your money. Alchemists can give you a run for your money, but this hero farms really well, okay? And it just depends on how efficient you can be with him. That's why people go bots, is because he farms so well with bots especially. But anyways, I'm going to go back to base here. And I kind of want to stop the game for a second to kind of talk about something that I've been neglecting a little bit, which is item choices, okay? So we talked a little bit about Battle Fury, we talked a little bit about bots, and we talked a little bit about Bottle. But what do you fill your other 3 item slots with, and then 4th when you eventually get rid of Bottle? Oh crap, I can't pause with... Okay, there we go. Well, it's very situational, right? First and foremost, do not fuck around with Blink on this hero. I'm not saying that Blink is bad on this hero. I am saying that you are probably bad with Blink on this hero. No offense, okay? Please do not take anything I'm saying in this video for offense. I should have said that as a disclaimer. Maybe I'll put it in a disclaimer somewhere. But do not take anything that I'm saying in this video for offense, okay? Just know that you are probably very bad with Blink here on this hero. If you are an Ember with 25 games on Ember, you probably are not that good with the hero. 25 games is not... I mean, frick. Like, I have almost 400 games, I think, on... Yeah, I've got a 411 games on Earth Spirit, and I don't even feel super confident on my Earth Spirit, right? 60% win rate with Earth Spirit, 400 games, and I don't even feel super confident with the hero. So, I myself am not super confident on a hero that I've played a lot. You should not feel super confident going anything you want, just trusting your ability to blink appropriately with a hero that you've only played like 25 times, right? Blink adds another element to the hero that I don't think that you'd be ready for if you were super early into the hero. What I personally recommend you do, and generally speaking, all of your games, when you're learning your Ember Spirit at the 2 or 3K bracket, is go bots into Battle Fury, or bottle bots into Battle Fury, into usually crit, into more Battle Furies, except when you need it, either a Manta, Lincoln's, or a BKB. And we'll talk about that. So I'm going to unpause a second. I'm going to cheat a little bit here because now we're talking about items. I'm going to actually cheat a lot a bit. I'm going to give myself WTF mode, and I'm going to give myself a Blink Dagger even though I told you not to buy one. The only reason I'm giving myself a Blink Dagger is so I can blink anywhere. So if I need to go to the secret shop like I need to, I can go to the secret shop in a second. But like I said, do not be building Blink on this hero if you don't have a lot of games with him, because Blink requires an adaptation of your playstyle that you're probably not ready for. So we're going to get all of these items, and we're going to actually talk about the differences between them, and why sometimes not sometimes, in every situation, one of the items can get trumped by the other items. So, Manta, Lincoln's, and wait, let's just put them all next to each other. How's that sound? Manta, BKB, and Lincoln's. Okay. In what situations is it good to have one? In what situations is it good to have another? Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, look at this. I look like I'm powering up, like I'm Super Saiyan. Oh, dude, I'm going Super Saiyan. I'm ascending to my next form. But anyways, in all seriousness, in what situations does Manta beat out Blink and Lincoln's? Well, when they have one or fewer silences that are, especially if they're like AoE, like Silencer, right? Silencer has multiple silences, but he has his one AoE silence, not AoE, his one global silence, where right when he goes, silence, you can just boom, and then you can throw another W out or something like that. Against Silencer, I would generally recommend probably going to Manta, right? Against Silencer, you can be elusive enough against his point-and-click silence that has a pretty long cast point, right? His point-and-click silence has like a 0.5 cast point. Generally speaking, as an Ember Spirit, you can go like this when he global silences, throw a W out, Q when you're Wing like this or something like that, and then jump back to a Remnant for safety to avoid any of his other bullcrap. You probably only need a Manta style if it's just like a Silencer. Against a Skywrath Mage, same thing. Guy has one silence, it's a point and click, you just boom. It also helps you to get rid of his slow, which is also very freaking annoying, and isn't something that I don't think you can block with Lincoln Sphere. Yeah, his slow isn't point targeted, so you can't dodge it or anything like that or block it with Lincoln Sphere. He just clicks it, it hits you, you're like, wow, that looks like it should get blocked by Lincoln Sphere, but it doesn't. Well, you don't have to worry about that problem if you just use Manta, like this. Come on, Bloodseeker, try to hit me, buddy. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, anyways. You may argue, well, what about BKB? Why wouldn't BKB be good against Silencer? BKB is not bad against Silencer. In fact, BKB inherently is a pretty decent item on this hero for its active, but not for its passive. Or, I guess, not for its attributes, right? Attribute-wise, BKB is the least strong on Ember Spirit, so only get it when you need it. What does that mean? Well, that means two things. That means you need to wait for Silencer to use Global Silence before you use BKB, otherwise it goes through it. Also, even if he can't hit you with his E afterwards when you have BKB, because he can't hit you during Black King Bar with your E, you don't really care too much because you could just dodge him anyways. His E, like I said, is kind of hard to hit you, or kind of hard to hit Ember Spirit with if Ember Spirit is playing appropriately. You don't need to worry about that ability too much as an Ember Spirit playing against the Silencer anyways. And you don't want an item that doesn't give you too many good stats on a hero that is built for damage, right? Does that make sense? I don't think that made sense. I can explain that better. Basically, try to avoid BKB unless you absolutely need it, because out of these three items, it gives you the least desirable stats. It gives you basically 24 damage. The strength is kind of negligible on a hero that is squishy as balls anyways, and is really trying to rely more on mobility for survivability as opposed to defensive ability. So don't get BKB unless you absolutely need it. And we can talk about the circumstances in which you would need it, but generally speaking, try to stay away from BKB if you can. If you need it, get it. If you don't, please stay away from it. Manta, as we were talking about, Manta, pretty good item. It gives desirable stats, probably the most desirable out of all of these items, as it gives the most damage for Ember Spirit. It gives movement speed, unlike these two items, and it gives you regeneration, very similar to the Lincoln Sphere, which is always nice on Ember Spirit, right? It also gives you stats, which I guess this item does too. And in fact, in some situations, this gives more stats. This gives 10 strength and 10 intelligence. This gives 15 to all. So in some situations, you may consider that Lincoln's is a better stat boosting item than Manta is. I would argue differently for the sole purpose that this item gives you more damage, right? It gives you 26 agility. And ultimately speaking, as I told you earlier, Ember Spirit, I guess he's not necessarily a glass cannon, but you want to be focusing on damage on this hero. You don't want to really focus too much on like always surviving, tanking up. You never want to get a Heart of Tarrasque on this hero. That's for starters, right? I don't care what some pro said. Do not, if you're in 2-3K, do not worry about getting a Heart of Tarrasque on Ember Spirit. If that ever does happen, then you can fucking sue me, right? In a pro game, if that shit ever happens, you can sue me and tell me otherwise. But even still, I would say they're doing it in pros. That's different than your pubs. Don't worry about it. I'm trying to help you gain MMR. I'm not trying to help you participate in the Frankfurt Major or some shit like that, or the Frankfurt Minor, or whatever it's going to happen next, right? TI6. I'm not trying to help you get to TI6. I'm just trying to help you get to 5K, all right? Anyways. Manta, like I said, most desirable in terms of its stats. Also, the minions, the illusions are nice, right? They're kind of nice. You can throw people off in the 2 or 3K bracket with which illusion is you, and more importantly, they can help you tank towers when you're trying to push, etc. so forth. The kind of sucky thing is it costs mana to use Manta, and also it has the longest cooldown out of all of them for its duration. It's really good for only a purge, so it doesn't last you long. It's like good for 1 or 2 silence. Like if they cast 2 silences on you, you can get rid of both of them with Manta, unless they're like Doom or something you can't purge off, right? Which is nice, but BKB actually has a very long duration, right? So you use this and they can't hit you for silences or stuns for 10 seconds, generally speaking, or 9 or 8 or 5, even 5, right? This is good for one time. BKB is good for the entire fight, and Lincoln's has a very short cooldown. So Manta, in terms of its defensibility, actually, I just thought of a really good way to put this, okay? In terms of defensibility, it goes like this trifecta. It goes from least to greatest. It goes Manta, Lincoln's, and then BKB. And then from offensibility, it goes from this trifecta. It goes from BKB to Lincoln's to Manta. That's pretty much the best way I can give it as an explanation. Why do I say that Lincoln's gives more offense than BKB does? Well, there's the obvious, right? It gives you plus 15 to all attributes and then plus 10 damage. So it gives you 25 damage instead of 24. But then also there's this kind of sneaky little thing with it, okay? Lincoln's, you can cast it on yourself. I'm going to un-WTF. You can cast it on yourself and get the duration going, okay? You can effectively dodge if the situation calls for it and the situation's right for it. Probably 2 point-and-click abilities with Lincoln's that you otherwise could not kind of dodge with BKB, right? And we're talking the point-and-click, like, really annoying abilities like Doom that you can't even BKB off. So it lets you be a little bit more offensive than BKB in some circumstances, right? Not in all. That part is open for discussion. I'm not saying that it gives you more straight up more offensibility just because of that aspect of it to it, but it's nice for that reason. You can keep the duration. You can artificially increase the amount of charges, I guess is what I should say, that you can get on this item. Because you can cast it on yourself, wait about 10 seconds, go in, they cast a point and click on it, and then boom, it pops right now. You got 5 seconds of cooldown. And then it can get popped again. Right after it pops on you, right after the one that you just casted on yourself can get popped, I'll just show you right now. Pop, right? And then we've got only, let's give a more realistic example, okay? You cast it, well, a hopefully more realistic example. This isn't always going to happen. Sometimes people will try to surprise attack you. But generally speaking, you're gonna be going in on your terms. And I can't believe I just lost my Bloodseeker. Okay, Bloodseeker, you need to stay nearby, okay? He's gonna sit here, he's gonna cast his Q on you or something like that, and then boom, he's gonna try to cast Rupture on you. Oh crap. What just happened? Did I not understand? I don't understand this item. I get it now. Okay. I was wrong. I was wrong, friends. I guess we're all wrong in our own way. I thought this was a bug at one point. But I'm glad that they changed this. I could have sworn this was a bug, but I'm glad that they changed this. That's good. It's kind of embarrassing that I'm finding this out for the first time on video, as opposed to for my own purposes, but it's good that they changed this. So we're going to refresh. I'm just going to test this one more time if you guys don't mind. Just for my own purposes. So we're going to un-WTF. I'm going to cast this on myself. It's got 16 seconds on the clock, right? When he casts an ability on me, it's good. Okay, it refreshes. Okay, so that's good. So never mind. I would say that overall, yes, defensively, generally speaking, BKB is the best option because of what I just found out about Lincoln's. But Lincoln's does give more damage. I mean, strictly speaking, it just straight up gives you more damage. It gives you more stats overall because whereas it gives 15 to all attributes, BKB gives you only 10 strength. So you get more agility, which is attack speed, which is sometimes nice. Not the most important thing because generally speaking, you're going to be auto-attacking, or you're going to be using your W, not your auto-attack. But sometimes you do auto-attack, so you want that attack speed as well as the damage. And then also, it gives you the intelligence, which is nice for mana pool. And it gives you the strength, which is more strength than the BKB gives you. It's better to get this if you're trying to go in the middle of the road route, and they have a lot of point-and-click abilities as opposed to BKB, which is good against all abilities, except for some, right? Like Doom goes through BKB, but it does get blocked by Lincoln's. So in some situations, tables can be turned. So yeah, I hope we gave kind of a decent coverage of these defensive items. I do apologize if it was a little confusing there because I had to figure out exactly how Lincoln's worked. I guess I didn't understand it myself. It's always nice to find that out though. But what's not confusing is how you're going to build this hero damage-wise. So you've got your defensive options out of the way. We're going to pick up one of them to simulate the game, but you're not even going to actually pick up that item before you get your Daedalus. You're going to, generally speaking, not even want to worry about defense on this hero until you get a Daedalus. I'm going to actually need a Blink Dagger so I can do something like this. Okay. You're going to want to be looking like this, basically, with a bottle, I suppose, before you even think about defense. So now we can get our Manta Style. And then, after you get your Manta Style, you probably want to work towards more Battle Furies. Why? The reason is twofold. One, Battle Fury can be bought entirely and completed in the main shop. That's a very good aspect to an item that I don't see a lot of noobs consider, but it's very, very strong. It's very, very strong to have an item that you can outright build from the shop. You can do that with Diffusal Blade. I'll show you. You can do it with Diffusal. You can do it with Sanj and Yasha. You can do it with every single consumable in the game that I can think of off recent memory, as well as all these basic-ass items. And you can do it with Crystallis, which is kind of cool. It's helpful for building Daedalus. You can do it with some items, right? But it's really nice that you can do it with Battle Fury. It's really, really nice. So it's very easy to build the item. It's just very easy. You do definitely need at least one Daedalus, though, regardless of the point. But I don't recommend crit stacking for multiple reasons, for a multitude of reasons. One, crit stacking, it just doesn't fit my playstyle personally. And I don't think it's going to fit yours when you start to play Ember Spirit for the first few times. You're going to not necessarily want to rely on trying to build up your RNG and really, really rely on that clutch RNG coming through in a fight. Nearly as much as you're just going to want to be like, yeah, crit was nice there, but the real thing that won me the fight was the fact that I can clear everything that I landed in my W, right? When I pushed W, everything just fucking died, regardless of whether or not I was critting. that's kind of like the simplest way that I can break it down. In the description below, I'll probably link a quick, I think it's just a straight up GIF. Is GIF the right word? It's not a play by image. It's just a picture that demonstrates the math behind why Battle Fury stacking is often better than dataless stacking. If you have a Magnus in the game, disregard what I'm saying, because Magnus can give you an extra Battle Fury, essentially, and you're going to want to probably crit stack if you have a Magnus in the game. But if you don't have a Magnus in the game, and that especially even if you do have a Magnus in the game, if that Magnus isn't sitting there telling you, yo man, I'm going to use Empower on you every single fight, if he's sitting there getting perfect 5-man RPs and then fucking using his Empower on your Dazzle, right, then get Battle Furies and Battle Fury stack. Because generally speaking, this is going to give you more damage, right? The only time that I can consider where I dataless stack is if I had a Magnus in my game. Those are those games where you have enough AoE damage naturally built into your kit of 1 or 2 Battle Furies and the Magnus that you really do want to hit those crits as often as possible, because you've got your sufficient damage in the area. You just want to focus at that point around hitting those big numbers. And again, I'll link the math to this below so you don't have to worry about getting all mad at me when you lose your games and say, oh man, Wired was wrong, man. If I had crit there, I would have won the game. Well, actually, probably not. But like I said, I'll show you the fucking the picture down below so you can't get mad at me. Sorry for cursing. I shouldn't have cursed there. Excuse my language. Anyways, talked a little bit about builds. This is basically what all of your games is going to look like when you get to the 60-minute mark. Until you start to lose. When you start to lose, you need to make a clutch play. You need to do what I call the Jarrett play. If you watch my stream, you'll know what a Jarrett play is, but basically this is a Jarrett play, okay? This right here is a Jarrett play. This is when you, the chips are freaking down. You're like, man, I'm playing Ember Spirit. He's my favorite hero. I believe in myself, okay? I just need to do this. Right, and then we can win the game, right? I just need to do this, and then we can win the game. And once you do that, then you can win the game and whatever. And of course, if you don't understand what I'm talking about getting a Divine Rapier. Only get a Divine when you are confident that you can be pretty darn defensive in the next fight and probably not die. Or at least if you do die, you'll win the fight such that you can get the Divine back on a hero that's on your team that can just give you the Divine when you respawn or something like that. Basically, don't buy a Divine when it's a really close game and you're not necessarily sure, like they have a Doom on their team, you're not sure if that kid's going to be able to pop your Lincolns or something like that, and you're not sure if you're going to be able to survive the next fight. Okay, get a Divine when you're pretty confident, no matter what, and the outcome of the next fight to be in your team's favor, so such that you can win the game, okay? That's when you get a Divine. You don't screw around with the Divine at 30 minutes in the game when you finish your Battle Fury and your crit and you're like, well, I don't need defense, offense all the way, YOLO, and then make a Jarrett play, and then you lose the game for your team because now all of a sudden their Juggernaut, or I guess their Bloodseeker in this case, who I killed earlier, has a Divine Rapier on top of their Sange and Yasha and, I don't know, BKB. Basically, don't screw around with the Divine, okay? You get Divine when you'll know. I always say Divine is a feel item. I know when I need a Divine Rapier. And whenever I'm playing Medusa, which I don't play her too often, but when I do play her, I just know when I need a Divine, and you probably will too. I would venture to say that probably 95% of the Dota players that are watching my video right now, or my stream right now, know when they needed to get a Divine Rapier. It's not just an item that you're just arbitrarily like, oh, I'm herp derp, time to start building it. You got that gut feeling. So anyways, we talked about Divine, we talked about your item build leading up to Divine, we talked about why you need to get a defensive item, we talked about what item you need to stack for the most damage. Now let's talk about combos, and this is where the most controversy about Ember Spirit develops. And what I mean by that is some of you guys don't think that you need to learn what I'm about to show you guys to play Ember Spirit. Some of you guys think that you can just neglect this aspect of Ember Spirit and still play Ember Spirit, when actually it's the contrast. If you don't know how to do this, right? If you don't know how to do that, you need to know how to do that. I'm not going to say don't play the hero. I'm just going to say you need to know how to do what I just did. You need to know how to do that and consistently bola at least one target whenever you play this hero. Literally, whenever. Okay, do not play Ember Spirit in a ranked game and expect to gain MMR if you can't do that consistently. And I do mean consistently. It gets a little tricky. Don't confuse what I'm saying. It gets a little tricky when you're talking about doing this consistently against big creep waves, right? Because I can't guarantee that I was going to bullet that catapult there, right? There's no way of me guaranteeing that. Ember's W and his Q are either completely random or insanely arbitrary, such that you would have to play like thousands of games to know who you're gonna jump to next, right? Like if you follow Ember, WTF, refresh, let's just get a big creep wave going. If you follow Ember, notice he jumps to certain targets, right? And he jumps to certain targets, and he jumps to certain targets, and he jumps to certain targets. You might, if you play this hero enough, be able to know just who he's going to jump to next and be able to bullet at the right time such that you maximize your chances that the bullet is going to latch onto the target. But that's not what I'm talking about. If you are playing Ember Spirit and you're just like, herp, derp, or some crap like that, like you're just, like you throw your W out and then like you miss, I literally can't, okay, great, just fucking great. Let me just kill all these creeps first because I don't have any items. If you're the kind of guy... Where's my hero going to land? What the heck? What the heck? I did not do that. I don't know what just happened. But if you're the kind of guy who throws your W out, and then you Q afterwards when you're standing here, you're not playing the hero appropriately, and you need to practice that. That is very, very important. That is so crucial. Because in a way, right? In a way, you're literally... how do I describe this, right? I basically, what I'm trying to say is you're throwing away your Q, right? If you're not able to land your Q, you're throwing it away. But how do I describe the magnitude of how big of a deal that is, right? When you can hit two-man bolas in a team fight, you are disabling, not stunning, but you're rooting 2 targets for 3 seconds, okay? That's the dream scenario. If nothing else, hopefully you can get 1 target. But sometimes, especially when you're just fighting heroes in the jungle, say, right? And you can get like W's out on targets that like aren't super compact on jungle creeps and stuff, you can probably hit 2-man searing chains. This is why Ember Spirit, this is kind of how they balanced Ember Spirit. If you watch my Earth Spirit video, you'll know that I talked about how combos with Earth Spirit balance themselves out. You can never use one stone and perfectly crowd control someone with Ember Spirit, or with Earth Spirit. This is how they balanced Ember Spirit. They balanced him so that the more targets there are, the less of a chance you have of hitting appropriate searing chains. But with Battle Fury, the more damage you do. So basically, big, huge, large-scale fights, you're probably not going to hit your CC, but you'll do a lot of damage. Small-scale fights, you're not going to do as much damage, but you'll pretty much always hit your CC. Does that make sense to you guys? That is like the I should put this at the start of the video, because that is the most important thing for a lot of people to realize, is that if you're not hitting every single one of your QW combos, your WQ combos in a fight, that's okay. At least you're trying. And hey, if you're not hitting it, that probably means you're doing a lot of damage, because there's probably too many targets there for you to reliably hit it, right? If the Bloodseeker is in the middle of this oncoming creep wave, and I don't hit him with that combo, if I don't hit him with those bolas, that's probably fine. That's probably not a huge deal. I didn't hit him there, but I threw it out. I hit him there because there was only 2 targets. I'm gonna fucking die here. Oh my god, this kid is a basher. Oh my god. Just don't. I don't want to die. I'm not trying to die here, Bloodseeker. Okay. Anyways. What was I saying? It's okay that I did not hit those bolas there, because I did a lot of damage, especially if I had a battle. I'm just sitting here with bots, but if I had a Battle Fury and a Daedalus, I probably would have done a lot more damage. So understand that, right? Also understand that those are not the situations that I'm talking about. The situations that I'm talking about is when... I wish I could just separate this kid by himself. I can't, though. He's going to just sit here. I'm going to die here. Rip. I'm so sorry. This is probably not the best guide, because he just won't... Here, I got an idea. Yeah, sweet. Oh my god. If you can't do that, okay, if you can't do that, I'm doing it, like, over and over, but he's also melee, so it's kind of hard for me to... Herp derp. Alright. Where's this motherfucker? I'm gonna kill this guy. Oh my god! Alright, I'm screwing up the guide. I can't, like, waste too much time. If you can't do this reliably, if you had cooldowns, infinite cooldowns... you would be able to perma-stun someone, or you should be able to perma-stun someone, like I just did, right? There is no excuse. There is no excuse. If you can't do that, what I personally recommend is playing Overthrow, and I'm not joking. Look into Dota 2 custom games, look up the game Overthrow, and spam that game. That is the best way to learn on Ember Spirit how to Sleight of Fist Searing Chains combo. And I'm not even joking. It is actually a really good way to practice that combo, right? It is, genuinely speaking, what I recommend for practicing on this hero. It's hard for me to tell you how to practice Earth Spirit. I'm still trying to come up with ways in which I can tell you guys how to practice Earth Spirit. But if you want to practice Ember Spirit, specifically this combo, play Overthrow. Because in Overthrow, there's not a whole lot of creeps. There's the zombies that spawn every once in a while, and that's it. So you get perfect opportunities to do a make or break W, Q combo. That's how you practice that ability. Your ulti. We already talked about your ulti. We talked about how to use it efficiently. But how do you use it to do damage? A lot of you guys get very confused about how this ability works when you're trying to talk about it in a damage perspective. So let me just completely clear the air here. If I place one Fire Remnant and I jump to it, I did 100 damage at level 1, right? Does that make sense? One Fire Remnant does 100 damage if I jump to it, okay? Does that make sense? Right? So let's put pen into practice here. If I put... Where's the Bloodseeker? Oh, here we go. If I could put five remnants, that should do 500 damage, and it did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That did 500 damage. Now that's not practical. 3 is practical, but that should do 300. And so if I do something like this, oh, don't do this. It'll do that much damage. Okay, you'll never have that situation. I just wanted that kid to be dead. But yeah, if you put 3 remnants out, you're going to do 300 damage right there. At level 6, right? Because that's when you're going to get the ability. 300 damage at level 6. You start at level 6. Right when you hit that ulti ability, when you level the ability up, you gain 3 remnants. So at level 6, with 2 points in your Q and max Flame Guard, you have the potential to do 420 Blaze It. You have the potential to do 420 Blaze It nuke damage over 2 seconds with your Searing Chains, and then burn the target down with your Flame Guard at level 4, I guess at level 7. You'll have the opportunity to burn this target down at level 7 for 60 damage a second, guaranteed at least 120 damage, because you'll be on them for 2 seconds. So you'll do an extra 120 damage right then and there, and then as you chase the target down, you're going to do more damage over time. Basically, you're going to do a lot of damage to the target that you do this to. So it's very important to be doing that, okay? Like, use this ability for nuke is what I'm really trying to get at here. Because this ability, at early game, use this ability early game for nuke damage, because it's very good for it, okay? Don't use it, I mean, you can use it to stack and help get back in the lane, but before you have bots, this ability should be a nuking ability primarily. Use it to get back into a lane when you buy a TP, when you have to go back, because maybe your Lena's getting, maybe you're like your solo mid opponent Lena is really harassing you, so you have to walk all the way back, heal up and crap like that. You buy a TP, you use the TP, or wait, no you don't, because you just jump back to it. But say you're out here and about, and then you, whatever, you put a remnant down, and then you use the TP back or whatever, so that you can jump back in and stuff like that. Do that early game, you know, use the remnant once for that. But generally speaking, early game, seek to buy TPs, TP to other people's lanes, right, with all 3 of your remnants, or 2 if you're feeling a little, you know, scared, and then chase the target down after you hit a WQ combo at level 10, because you're going to get this ability at level 10. And then, you know, after you hit that WQ combo, which is easier at level 10, this ability's rank 1. Its epicenter is very small, or I guess its diameter is very small. So you can pretty much pinpoint. You don't have to worry about wider range of hitting a bunch of creeps. It's got a very small pinpoint, so you can almost guarantee targets like that. It's very nice for that reason. Whoops. Yeah, you can guarantee chains. And then after you hit the chains, as soon as you hit the chains, 1, 2, 3, boom, that kid is dead, right? Followed up with an E. At level, the way that you do that, by the way, because your mana is not going to be enough. At level 7, you don't have enough mana to do that entire combo just like I did it. So here's how you actually do it. You have your bottle. What you do is, on WTF, you use your E, you drink a bottle charge, wait for it, and then you TP. And then after you get done TPing, when they're diving or whatever, drop 1, 2, 3, jump on them, Q, they're dead. Okay, that is how you do that. That is the entire Ember Spirit combo for you in a nutshell. That is how you kill most kids at level 6. Bada boom, bada bam, you're welcome. And so let me just think about whether or not I covered all the bases that I wanted to in this Ember Spirit guide. I think I did. We covered builds, we covered skill builds, we covered being efficient in the jungle, we covered how to kind of combos, basically combos. I think we covered everything. So now the next time you say, oh man, I want to be Arteezy, just remember you need a lot of work, okay? And this hero's not free wins, okay? If he's overpowered, he's not overpowered by much. He definitely takes a lot of skill. Please, 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 please practice this hero before you take him into ranked. I cannot stress that enough. That is the most important thing I'm telling you all this entire time. And yeah, thank you very much for your time. I'll catch you guys later.